And I've been thinking about the word focus all week, so you might as well lead in with that. Focus. Like, you know, and you can maybe start off by talking about the level of focus it took to stay that consistent, that disciplined, that resilient through the process of not really knowing where it was going to go, but now looking at what you have established and what you've built, and then looking back at those early stages, like, talk a little bit about the focus that it took to get to where you are now. You know what I mean?
100%, man. All it is just focus. Staying dedicated, being consistent, being willing to show up when nobody else showing up.
Yeah.
80% of success is what? Showing up.
Right.
And it was a lot. I didn't go in knowing anything about business, really. Of course, I had some mentors telling me a few things about business. I should do this, I should do that. But the only way I really learned was hands-on. And that's the best way I really learned. And, man, it was a lot of ups, a lot of downs, but I just kept pulling myself up by my own bootstraps.
Yep.
Kept loving on people. I realized in the world of fitness, you know, of course, it's not a box gym. It's kind of, you're in a membership business.
Oh, yeah.
So in order to get members,
that's a good point.
Yeah, you know, I'm not, you know, because I can't do anything without members. Like, I can't pay no bills or anything. So I realized I'm in a membership business, so I had to continue to turn numbers over and start this. So I realized if I continue to love on people and treat everybody like they're the best customers on this earth, no matter if they're the most savage person, if they suck, or they could be the worst person on this earth. Remember, I do have a boss. Like, I own my own gym, but the customer is my boss. Like, it's like what, 10 other gyms around me? But, you know, and I realize I'm not in competition with those gyms. I'm literally in competition with myself. And
that's real right there.
Yeah, I'm literally I'm really in competition with myself, and that what helped me. I'm 10 years now. Next year will be 10 years. I started MACK Elite training in 2016, November 2016.
Oh yeah.
Well, for you to look at it that way, first of all, more business owners need to think of it that way, right?
Yeah.
And understanding that, they have a boss, but customers are all the boss. They all are because they get to decide.
100%.
Sometimes you go to a business and you look at them and they're acting like, when you go to the Apple store.
Right.
I don't go to the Apple store.
Right.
I go to the Apple store, it's like I'm bothering them.
Yeah.
I check in,
it's unfortunate.
It's a different ballgame. But to your original question, the word focus. One thing that I've been trying to do lately is that when I'm trying to define the word, I like to think of the opposite of it. So when I think of the opposite of the word, I think of the word distraction. And I think the only way to focus is to understand what's important and what's a distraction. Because then if you can identify what's important and what's a distraction, then you know what to focus on. I think that's number one.
Right.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's so much you could focus on. What do you focus on? And I think that takes a lot of discernment.
Right.
Say, okay, what are the 3 things today I'm going to focus on based on all these other distractions that are in the way?
Right.
So I think you got to use discernment to figure out what a distraction is.
What do you mean by discernment again? What is your definition of discernment?
Being able to, like if you meet somebody, if you can see whether or not they're a good or bad person.
Judgment.
You're using judgment.
Yeah.
Right.
I got you.
You're using your judgment to make a decision. When you use your judgment to make a decision, you're using discernment.
I got you, 100%.
Right? So, you know, how can you figure out what's a distraction? That's actually what's interesting is that we're in the middle of an exercise in this right? Because as you and I are, as we're all talking right now, we got distractions rolling by. Yeah, so it's like it's the same thing. Because I'm trying to catch myself seeing this person walk by.
And my back turned, so I feel like my back turned,
When you're with your guy, all right, I'm going to focus on this. So right now, we're in an exercise of focus. And I think that that's important, right? Like, for example, when you're at your gym, if you had the guy that's in the ring and he's sparring, he's going harder than 3 minutes spar, what happens if he sees a pretty girl doing lunges on the other side of the gym?
You can get cracked very easy.
That's life. That's exactly my point.
Yep. 100%.
So how do you know what to focus on, where you are, what's the most important?
100%.
So, you know, and when we're in that situation just like this, we got to say what's the distraction and what do you focus on. That's why I like this right here. Because we got music.
Oh man, it's a vibe.
people.
For sure.
We have all types of things going on. And, there's a lot of distractions. But, that I think is the main point of then being able to use discernment to decide what to focus on.
Oh yeah, no, I think that's a big key to focus because I think that's what dictates the scope. If you don't zero in on an object, then you're not focusing on the object. And the process of zeroing in is eliminating what is distracting you from what you are intended to pay attention to. And so I think it's really important to have the right awareness. And that's the big key. I think you asked a good question, like what is discernment? And you have so many different like synonyms and different words you can use that have subtle different meanings to them. And so you can say judgment, you can say discernment. But I think discernment is what's under the cover. I think judgment is more like what we're getting from our external influences and senses, like what we're getting off somebody, how you don't judge a book by its cover, like judgment maybe on what we see. I think discernment is more coming from an intuitive place of what you feel like the content of the book is. You know what I mean? Like, is this something that's worth my time? You see what I'm saying? Sometimes you can misjudge a book because you don't know the content.
Yeah.
It might be something good for you.
Feel guilty in even deciding this isn't worth my time.
Exactly.
But we got to get to that point.
Yeah, and having that like awareness of how to trust your level of discernment. Because if you're putting yourself in challenging situations too many times, then we start to not trust our ability to make good decisions and good reads. Because we're like, well, I done made this read, but it didn't always pan out. And you said something super important and something that I share with my clients too. I'm like, it's important, especially when you're building, to not remove bricks as you're laying the next one. And so if you're in the people business, every time you make them feel a way, that goes so much farther than anything you can do for them, say to them. It's all about how we make them feel. And that's like laying a brick. And if we take for granted the level of focus that it takes to manage your own energy, manage your spirit, and keep the distractions, the personal business outside the professional business, so that each time you meet a new person, they get that same consistent energy. So that's another brick on top of the other brick. So then the other people still coming in to see you because you give them the same consistent energy. And I say that a lot about building a business in the space that I'm in health and wellness because it is a people business. You have to be consistent. The moment they come in there and you ain't that same level you were when you seen them 3 years ago and you trying to take it for granted, treat them like, man, hold on, wait a minute, I get with you, then you lost it. And you can't build a business when you consistently are just replacing the missing components that you keep letting go out the back door. So I think a big key to that we can lead into from the focus piece is consistency. You know what I mean? Staying consistent. And then being consistent, on the main thing. And if your impact is to help people feel better about themselves, more confident about themselves, loving on themselves, keeping that same focus in your forefront and not being misguided by those distractions, I think it's so important. You know what I mean? And I take a lot from what you said about that as far as like how I apply to my game because I think about that. I'm like, that is so critical. I take pride in no matter if somebody see me at 6 in the morning or they see me at 8 p.m. at night, they need to get the same me. It doesn't matter what I had going on. Doesn't matter how much sleep I had. Doesn't matter how my day is. They didn't sign up for that. You know what I mean?
Look, if you come to this restaurant and you get a burger
for sure
on Tuesday and then you get the same heck of burger on Thursday,
right?
But it's way off. Hey, look, it's going to put a bad taste in your mouth. How do we remain consistent? But then it gets challenging. If you say to yourself, all right, well, what do I need to do to really grow this business? What can I give up from an energy perspective? That's one of the places I'm in right now. Like,
that's the good.
Where am I putting the energy in the right place? Am I focusing on the right things?
Right.
Am I really in my zone of genius?
Right.
It's that book called The Big Leap.
Zone of Genius. I like that. I like the way that sounds.
Yeah, so there's no Big Leap. They talk about you being in 3 zones: proficiency, mastery, and then genius. So it's like, are you doing things you're proficient in? Like, do you know how to iron clothes? You can iron your clothes. Like, are you doing things at a mastery perspective of, can you teach people myths? Absolutely. You've mastered that. Right? But then it's like, well, what is your specific genius?
Right.
And what can you do to spend the most amount of time there?
For sure. Yeah.
So, it's another interesting phrase I heard, which is, first you get paid for what you do, then you get paid for what you know, then you get paid for who you are.
Right.
So, that's kind of where I'm at with a couple of things. I have to pull back in a way.
Yeah.
Go back to getting paid for what I do.
Yeah.
Then get paid for what I know. So then get paid for it.
Yeah.
So, I think it's an interesting place.
How do you feel about kind of the mentality of it's more efficient to better your best than to strengthen your weaknesses? How do you feel about that?
I say I like to focus on my weaknesses a lot.
Okay, yeah.
More than what I'm good at.
Yeah.
Of course, I like to hone in what I'm good at because that's why I'm comfortable.
Right.
But being uncomfortable, being in the shadows, is where you come out stronger. Mm-hmm. The deepest and darkest parts that you're not great at and things you're just uncomfortable doing, and that's when you come out 10 times stronger. So I like things that I'm not good at. Very uncomfortable, but I enjoy it.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I don't know. I chew on that too. I'm like, better your best, strengthen your weakness. The reason why I bring it up is in reference to what you were saying about your zone of genius. Because if we're talking about skills, you may have many skills, but then you have a genius. You have many abilities, but what makes you significantly different, uniquely in a space other than others? And it's like, well, is that a component of bettering your best? Is that a component of identifying what we're really gifted at? And now embarking on the journey of growth. Because growth in itself is uncomfortable. So even if the barometer is set at 11, getting to 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 is still growth, and it's still probably uncomfortable. And so it's like, well, what do we focus on? Do we go and spend more time growing those weaknesses, right? Now, I think then that makes me analyze the level of production, right? Because you got like a root tree system, then we see the tree. And so it's like, well, some things are going to take 10 years for you to get this to a level of production, but maybe you might have a strength over here that's really close to getting to a place that you can start producing some fruit. Then is it wise to pivot and focus on, let's advance what we have that can be most fruitful sooner? Or is it better to stay in the long game, because eventually that weak chain link might hold you back? And
as you're saying that, so I'm going to put a little bit different on the spin.
Yeah.
What I would say is that I think it depends on what phase of your life you're in.
Right.
Because I think that every man should have competence.
Right.
Core competency is a bunch of different things.
Right.
Right. And I think that if you're a young man, I think you should be trying to get as much of those core competencies with things that you're good at. And I think there has to become a day. I don't know when that is for anybody and everybody, but I think there is a day that then you have to focus on what you're good at.
That's for sure. Yeah.
But I think it happens once you've done a bunch of different things and became competent at a time.
That's
right? Like it's like fighting, right? Like you can't put it all together. Like if you're not competent in your footwork, it doesn't matter how hard you do. Right? Like you need to have all the competencies before you can be in the ring. Right? If you just focus on your strengths and say, man, my left hook is amazing.
Right.
I'm just gonna hit the left hook.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Great.
All right.
But the challenge there is that your game is open in so many other ways.
Mm-hmm.
Your defense is shit.
Mm-hmm.
Your cardio is shit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it depends on where you are in your life.
That's a good point.
Once you've gotten the base down, your footwork is down, and you got all the basics, then if it turns out that your left hook is crazy, then focus on
it.
Set it up. I literally tell my fighters all the time, I say, look, I'm not here to tell you what you're doing right. I'm here to tell you what you're doing wrong.
Right.
I'm not your friend. I'm your coach.
Yeah.
So they're like, oh, yo, coach, I did this. You see this? Yes, I saw that, but how you going to go from that if you already know you can do that?
Right.
You stand in the same spot. You bringing your hands back low. Dropping your right hand. You're not stepping to the right when I tell you to step to the right. It's a little thing whenever you become a champion. Not what you're doing right now. Because you get stagnant. You get complacent right there.
Oh, yeah.
And it's all those core competencies that I think you can do the same thing in life. You know what I mean? Like if you meet a man in a certain part of his life and it's just basic things, it's like, well, I think it's young men should be focused on working on their weaknesses. And I think that once you get to a certain point, then you got to focus on your strengths. Personally. Because again, I think that's like in the ring. You're gonna look at people and this your footwork is crazy. And it's like, yeah, but coach, I hit hard. But coach, have you seen the way I move my head? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter because your footwork is terrible.
Can't get out of the way of the punches. Right.
You're gonna cross your leg.
Somebody's gonna walk you down, cut the ring off, and you screwed.
Right. I view that metaphor as the same as life. Because you got to have all the core competencies down. Then if it turns out that, okay, this happens to be a great thing that you can focus on, it's like any sport, like baseball, football, right? Then you'll be like, oh, wait, but I'm really good at this? All right, that's the position.
Right.
Right? But does the center worry about throwing the football?
Right.
Does their weak at throwing the football?
But you still have the foundation to be a good football player. And then you can pick at what position you excel the best at. But there's still a standard level of athleticism you need to have to step on this field and be dominant. Makes sense. Makes sense.
Like at the combine. The combine is core competency.
Right. Everybody's good.
Everybody's good, and everybody has to compete in those core competencies.
Facts.
You got to run a 40, depending on what position you're going for, but everyone has those core competencies.
Yeah.
Then on top of that, then you can specialize. And that's what I think is a good word, specialize.
Yeah.
It's like, when do you generalize and when do you specialize?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's a good way to frame it too. Do you work on your weaknesses or focus on your strengths?
Yeah.
So are you a generalist or are you a specialist? Generalists make general money. Specialists make specialists.
Right.
Right? So it's like, when do you go pro?
Right.
And I think we can look at that in our careers.
Yeah.
Everything that we do is like, there's a lot of things in my life that I'm still playing at an amateur level.
Yeah.
I gotta ask myself, when are you gonna go pro?
Right.
And what does it take to go pro?
Right.
What's the dedication necessary to go pro?
Good word.
What kind of focus do you need to go pro?
Mm-hmm.
What distractions do you have to eliminate to go pro? Mm-hmm. I don't think enough of us have answered those questions. I know I made that huge mistake in my 20s.
Right.
I had talent like you wouldn't believe. I picked up a bunch of skills. I had no strategy, and I had no focus, and I had too many distractions. So everything I'm saying, I'm also sharing the fact that this is how I spent my 20s with little to show for it. Right? Like either spend or invest. Mm-hmm. Right? I spent my 20s, and I can look back and I learned some lessons. But there wasn't a big investment.
Right.
But you can go over there. You see that garden over there? I planted that in my 20s.
Thanks.
And now look at the fruit. Right? And we got to look at the book, Judge a Man by his fruit.
Right.
I heard a funny thing about Drake the other day. And there was this guy that was on SNL.
Yeah.
And they were like, you realize Drake is just the greatest actor of all time.
That's fair.
It's just, he's just been playing a rapper.
Right. That's funny. Yeah.
Like, he's an actor.
Yeah.
He grew up in the suburbs. Like, you can literally watch him on Degrassi, whatever the show was.
Yeah.
So was Tupac. I heard something funny about Tupac. They were like, Tupac did the movie Juice.
He was in Juilliard. Yeah, he was in Juilliard. He freaking went to top acting schools. When he met Jada Pinkett.
He did the movie Juice.
And stayed in character. I saw that too.
Right? You saw that?
Yeah, I saw that. I was like, oh, yeah.
And it's
That's kind of true.
And the same thing about Drake. Drake is in character.
Yeah.
Because he's not, Drake is just a character. In theory.
Yeah.
It's like, he's not.
He's Aubrey.
Aubrey Graham or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it is.
That's not who he is, but he just figured out a way. Now, how do we take that lesson and learn from it? How do we create an alter ego we want? Right? Jordan was like, what they call him? Kobe was Black Mamba.
Yeah.
Like this alter ego that they were able to put on to go into game.
Did Jordan even have an alter ego?
They just call him Black Jesus. I don't know. They call him.
I don't think Jordan had an alter ego.
Terrified.
I think when you hear Jordan, you already know.
Yeah, it's just by itself.
Come with it. Yeah. I think Jordan spawned Mamba mentality. I think that was the most recent successful attempt at recreating that level of focus. Once again, it's all about focus. And, earlier you were saying something about discomfort. And a lot of times, whether we're bettering our best or strengthening our weaknesses, it's going to take a level of discomfort to get through to the other side of that bridge. And one thing you say you're training your clients on about always looking at the gap versus the gain, because once they gain it, it's in the basket. Now let's go find new money. And so you help them find new money, new opportunities, how to strengthen themselves. Same thing I tell to my boxing clients. Every time they're like, man, I feel like I'm always in the same place. I'm always uncomfortable. I'm always learning. I said, if I'm doing my job, that's exactly how you need to feel every time you come see me. Because that means that every time you come, I'm challenging you to get better than where we left off. Now, you want to feel the warm and fuzzies of feeling good, but that means you're going to be stagnant. You want to feel amazing, doing the same thing, but we're not going to grow that way. And so I think in life, if we reassociate what we look at and how we look at discomfort, there's two words that came to mind. It was endure and embrace. And a lot of times we say we'll embrace discomfort and endure pain. And I think a lot of times because the discomfort that we're assuming we're going to see comes through a source of pain, now we're like, we don't know what to embrace or endure, so we all confused. So people get off, they get off. It's too hot. Aye, aye, aye. That was painful. It's supposed to be uncomfortable, not painful. And I think if we connect them and we start looking at the gap that's in the way of that next level as pain and challenge, and saying, okay, instead of growing, I want to be challenged, and attributing the two. So if you want to be great, then that means you want to go through challenges, and it's rewiring your mind. A lot of times when I'm really putting it on in the gym, and I'm going hard, and I'm hitting and heart rate's high, and I'm having that battle in my mind, that governor saying, hey man, you done enough, and I'm like, nah, I ain't do what I came here to do though, right? And you start having that negotiation. One trigger word I say is good pain, good pain, good pain. I'm already in pain, but now that helps me train my mind to associate it in a good way. This is why we came. If I don't endure this, if I don't embrace this, if I don't continue to push through this, I'm not going to get to the results I want. I'm not going to get to that next level of strength. I'm not going to get to that next level of conditioning. You feel me? That's what I'm saying. It's like embracing it.
That's a reel right there. Yeah. You can chop that into a reel.
Yeah, man. And rewiring the mind.